Welcome learners to the EPG Pathshala. I am Sudarshan Yadav here to talk about the history of mass communication, education and training centers in India. In this module, we'll be talking about the development of mass communication education in India and different pioneers and institutions who worked for the development of the discipline, and further we'll talk about the nature of our disciplines and the problems we face. In this module, we have put 5 themes. First theme will be to talk about the development of mass communication in India. Then we will talk about the development in the context of US. Then we'll talk about the pioneers and different institutions working in this area. Then further we'll proceed to talk about the discussion between the two ideas of journalism and mass communication, and then the problems we face now and what is the future of our discipline. As we know that when we talk about mass communication, first we need to define it. Media is a plural form of medium, which means the intermediate between two elements. According to Merriam-Webster dictionary, the media means cultivation, conveyance or expression. Many times it is synonymously used with communication, media and mass communication. The word mass communication in itself implies communication to a large number of people. Communication to the masses has been there in the past too, through religious sermons, frescoes, cries telling the orders of the kings and the queens and stupas. But mass communication in the modern sense through mechanical technological means is of recent origin. It started only after the invention of printing press and development of different communication technologies. So, with respect to this modern technology, there was a need for trained professionals who would be working to facilitate this communication. Although at different government and organizational levels, training was given within the organization by the experts, mass communication education in the modern sense, that is its association with university, is of recent origin. In fact, the scholarship and higher education in journalism and mass communication started only after the Second World War. Now let us talk about the journalism and mass communication education in the world. The journalism education started mainly in the United States of America in 1903, but it was Robert E. Lee, the former commander of the Southern armies in the Civil War, who had proposed college fellowships in journalism at Washington College in 1869. His vision was that well-trained journalists could play an important role in rebuilding war-torn South. Later, Willard G. Daddy Blair started journalism education in the US in 1903. Initially, a course in libel laws was started. Later, journalism was introduced as a minor subject at the PhD level in the university. But the actual establishment of the mass communication discipline happened after the Second World War due to the efforts of Wilbur Schramm. Some of the institutes which came up with the PhD courses in mass communication were Iowa State, Illinois, Wisconsin, Minnesota and Stanford. Joseph Pulitzer made a donation to the Columbia University in 1908 to establish journalism department. SI Newhouse, Syracuse, New York was another benefactor where the communication courses were started. Now let us talk about the mass communication education in India. India, being a British colony, had exposure to many inventions of industrial world, such as printing press, telegraph, radio facilities, television and other communication technologies soon after they were invented. So when we talk about at that time, mostly people from literature, economics and social science and law background having a good understanding about the society and flair for writing used to work in media organizations. That is why there is an argument that journalists are born, not made, but many think the other way around. Even the political leaders of the likes of Mahatma Gandhi, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, J.L. Nehru, Madan Mohan Malviya, Subhash Chandra Bose and B.R. Ambedkar wrote in the newspapers and journals without any prior training in media. In fact, Gandhi, Tilak and Malviya used to publish different newspapers and journals in their times. But in real sense, journalism training was started by Annie Besant at Adyar in Madras, now Chennai, in the 1920s as a short-term course. Later on, P.P. Singh and K.E. Pen emerged as the pioneers of journalism and mass communication education in India. In 1941, a journalism course in Punjab University, Lahore, was established by the efforts of Professor P.P. Singh. Around the same time, Aligarh Muslim University also came up with an experimental short-term journalism courses in 1938, which lasted only 2 years. Later on, Calcutta University came up with the evening courses in 1950 and Osmania University followed suit in 1954. In 1952, Hislop College, as considered by K.E. Ippen, witnessed the first effort in India to provide formal training in journalism. The field of journalism metamorphosed into mass communication by 1964. In the 1960s, universities of Pune, Gujarat, Guwahati, Raipur, Ludhiana, and Kolhapur launched their own journalism programs. Later, in the year 1965, Indian Institute of Mass Communication was established after the recommendation of UNESCO and Ford Foundation. In 1973, Banaras Hindu University came up with a full-fledged department for journalism education. In the initial phase, certificates and diploma courses were launched, followed by bachelor's in journalism and master's in journalism. Then MA and MS level courses in journalism and mass communication and other allied subjects and specializations were introduced. Much later, the 5-year integrated courses in journalism and mass communication were also launched. Research degrees like MPhil and PhD were started as well. The formation of Indian Association for Education in Journalism in January 1956 was the first effort and important development in spreading training course for journalists in India after first Press Commission report, that is in 1952-54. It was initiated by Professor P.P. Singh with the help of Professor Everton Conger of Nagpur and Dr. D. Forrest Odell of Osmania at that time. Now learners, let us talk about the role of UGC, that is the University Grants Commission, and in the development of journalism and mass communication education. The University Grants Commission, UGC, the apex body for guiding university education in the country, was initially unsure as to how to guide the development of this discipline. It constituted a panel for journalism as one of the mechanisms within the purview of UGC for ensuring certain standards. The panel constituted for journalism in 1977 recommended that the courses in journalism be restructured to make them relevant to the needs of the developing environment in India. The recommendation was that the students should receive not only technical training but also be sensitized to the process of communication and its relevance to social change. It also recommended that the courses should be interdisciplinary, where the expertise of physical and social scientists should be blended with skills and crafts of media professionals. In the year 2001, UGC came up with the model curriculum for journalism and mass communication to be adopted by different institutes of mass communication in India. This attempt was made owing to the concern that the universities should have a standardized curriculum. However, not many scholars agreed with it. Professor B.P. Sanjay argues that the curriculum development and implementation is the domain of academic councils and respective board of studies of universities and colleges. Their autonomy is well recognized. So, when the UGC developed a model curriculum and asked the universities to implement it, in a way it was seen as an erosion of academic autonomy. Also, some scholars agree to the fact that since mass communication is a social science subject with an interdisciplinary approach, so agreeing to one model curriculum would not serve the interest of the scholars as well as the discipline. It can act as a guideline but not to be adopted as it is. Now let us talk about the whole idea of the two terms, the journalism and mass communication. The nature of our discipline, there has been an argument among many scholars over the nature of the study under the aegis of journalism and mass communication at the university level. The scholars from non-American countries criticized the US orientation. The US style of training was more focused on the skills without caring for science of and education about communication. US universities debated it. The fight between the Green Eye-Shades and the Chi-Square has been legendary in the US university circles. As put by K. Ipin in one of his articles in 1981, this tale of woe is not without the brighter side. It needs to be conceded that what was started in 1941, that is Punjab University Lahore, was a craft-oriented course. Hislop College Nagpur 1952 strove hard to improve upon the technical approach to reporting and editing as a challenge, so that many of the raw graduates in other subjects who went there for journalism training got quick employment, disproving the cliché that journalists are born and not made. This thrust continues with most university programs now. A fresh dimension was added to this by Bangalore University, which was established in 1973 when it decided to give the professional thrust by a two-tier social science slanted scheme. He further explains, the first degree Bachelor of Science BS Communication declares a social scientific orientation. Unlike BJ, BA journalism courses of other Indian universities, the BS gives an introductory course in communication research methodology. The BS is followed by a one-year MS Communication for the serious student who wants to know more about communication as a subject. Naturally, its course structure covers social psychology, communication theories, and the like. It is a thesis-based degree, and students are encouraged to take rural research problems so that they can have some exposure to concerned villages during their field work. In 1980, the courses primarily focused on higher levels of the arty-crafty aspects of many journalism rather than pushing students to the understanding of the relationship of media to other social institutions. Although we have many 2-year MA degree programs today, but this wrestling between the two ideas of the discipline still continues in India. Now let us talk about the pioneers of mass communication education in India. When we talk about the journalism and mass communication education in India, there are different personalities and scholars who have contributed immensely towards the establishment and development of mass communication discipline in India. Let us now delve into the lives and times of some of these distinguished men and women who served the field of mass communication with aplomb. First of all, let us talk about Annie Besant. Annie Besant was an outstanding orator of her time, a champion of human freedom, educationist, philanthropist, and author with more than 300 books and pamphlets to her credit. She co-edited the National Reformer with Charles Bradlaugh. She started the Adyar Bulletin, which continued until 1929 in order to link Adyar more intimately with the rest of the theosophical world. She started two journals, The Common Weal, a weekly dealing with issues of national reform, and New India, a daily newspaper which for 15 years was a powerful instrument promoting Home Rule and revolutionary Indian journalism. During the First World War, she taught Indian journalists to write leading articles denouncing the action of the government, yet keeping within the letters of law. Now let us talk about the two personalities who are considered to be the institutionalizers or who institutionalized the mass communication education in India. Those two personalities are Professor P.P. Singh and K.E. Ipin. Professor P.P. Singh started journalism education at Punjab University in 1941. He took this initiative further and guided the first journalism department in Lahore, then in Delhi, and later in Chandigarh in 1962. He is regarded as a fierce defendant of journalism education. He survived the criticism and continued to encourage the setting up of departments in various universities. He was an accomplished academician trained in London and Missouri, Columbia in 1983. Jawaharlal Nehru had invited him to return to India and join his paper National Herald. However, since the post had by then been offered to another person, he joined the Pioneer. Singh's vision and ideals led to an American influence in Indian and Pakistani journalism training programs. This influence is still evident today. Now let us talk about K.E. Ipin, who is the another person considered as institutionalizer in India. K.E. Ipin is the most prominent name in the journalism education in India. He, along with P.P. Singh, is considered the pioneer of journalism and mass communication education in India. He set up 3 university departments of journalism and mass communication: Hislop College, Bangalore University, and Kerala University. Professor Ipin was the first convener of the University Grants Commission panel on mass communication and the first UGC National Lecturer and Emeritus Fellow of Journalism Mass Communication. He served as a consultant to Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. He was the Vice President of Commonwealth Association for Education in Journalism and Communication. He was the Vice President of International Association for Media and Communication Research from 1988 to 1992. He also identified the significance of the satellite instructional television experiment site and initiated a site evaluation study in the Karnataka cluster in 1975-76. Now let us talk about the institutes of mass communication in India. During the 1850s, and later on, with the establishment of the universities in Calcutta, Bombay, and Madras, came the modern education from Europe to India. Although in the initial phase, Britishers established their institutions to get the workforce for their respective industries and administration, later on many institutions like Banaras Hindu University, Aligarh Muslim University, and MS Baroda University with a nationalistic touch came into existence. After independence, many more universities, colleges, and academic institutions were established, offering different regular and professional courses. There are altogether 789 universities with about 75 mass communication education departments in India. Some of the media organizations have their own institutes, like Manorama School of Communication, Jagran Group of Institutes, Asian College of Journalism, Chennai, Times of India, Varta, Inadu, and Delhi Thati. The reason given by the respective media organizations for establishing their institutes was that the professionals trained in the university system were not fulfilling their industry needs, so they came up with their own institutes. Now, even CBSE schools offer courses in mass media studies across India at 11th and 12th level. Some of the institutes working in the specialized area are Film and Television Institute of India, Pune; Satyajit Ray Film and Television Institute of India, Kolkata; Moaya Academy Advanced Cinematics, MAC; Arena Multimedia; LV Prasad Film and Television Institute, National School of Drama, and National Institute of Design. All the institutes discussed above offer different courses with an emphasis on television, radio and film production, journalism in Hindi, English and other Indian languages, development communication, advertising and public relations, corporate communication, new media, media studies, event management and animation and graphics. Now let us discuss two premier institutes providing training to the students and the professionals. First one is Indian Institute of Mass Communication, IIMC, and the second one is AJK MCRC. So let us talk about Indian Institute of Mass Communication first. It is the first institute in India to provide a formal education in the field of mass communication. It was set up by the government in 1965. In 1966, it was made an autonomous institution under the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. Today, it has a number of courses relating to different media. It offers PG diploma courses in journalism and mass communication. Also, it offers specialization in print journalism, English, Hindi, Urdu, Odia, Marathi, Malayalam, photojournalism, radio journalism, TV journalism, development communication, communication research, advertising and public relations. These are the courses. It also caters to the in-service training needs of the information personnel of the Government of India. Now let us talk about the second institute, AJK Mass Communication Research Center, New Delhi. This is another institute of prominence related to mass communication in India, named after Anwar Jamal Kidwai, who helped in the establishment of this institute. This is a center under Jamia Millia Islamia University set up in the 1980s with the collaboration of York University in Toronto to provide education at master's level. UNESCO provided financial support to Center for Mass Communication Research at Jamia Millia Islamia University through International Program for the Development of Communication (IPDC) in 1992. The center produces high quality educational programs for the Center for Educational Consortium of UGC for more than 2 decades. Now let us proceed towards our last section, that is the present scenario. Till now we have discussed about the development of mass communication education in India and the different specializations and training that are available in the field. But in this entire proliferation of the discipline, one important thing which is missing is one axial structure which combines all. A lot of niche areas are being cited for specialization without having a common foundation and principle. Carl Nordenstreng in his article states clearly that communication as an area of study has expanded very fast. This expansion and diversification has created many new independent branches. He further adds in another article, communication has been and remains professionally self-centered and scientifically shallow. It is not centered on a foundation, it moves restlessly from one area to other, continuously creating new areas, terming it as surfing syndrome. Now let us sum up what we have read till now. First of all, we discussed the idea of mass communication. We defined what mass communication is. There we talked about the idea of that it is in the context of technological transmission, where a technology is used for transmitting message from one person to the other, or to many, or to masses. Then further we talked about the development of mass communication education in US. Then later on we further proceeded towards the discussion about the development of mass communication education in India. In doing so, we discussed the contributions in the context of US. We discussed the contribution of Willard G. Teddy Blair, Joseph Pulitzer and Wilbur Schramm. In the context of India, we talked about different pioneers like Annie Besant, P.P. Singh and K. Ipin, how they contributed to our discipline and how the establishment happened. Further, we talked about the role of UGC in the establishment of journalism and mass communication education in India. Also, we talked about the discussion between the nature of our discipline, that is journalism and mass communication, whether it is a skill-based course or a social science course. So this discussion was also held. Then we talked about the different institutes offering mass communication education in India. Towards the end, we talked about the search for that one axial structure which combines all the specializations of our discipline. So learners, here we come to the end of this module. This is Sudarshan Yadav wishing you all the best for your future. So happy learning. Thank you.